Divorce has always been a stressful and emotionally trying time for the individuals involved. But have we ever thought about how the children were affected in this scenario? I hypothesize that children of divorce tend to be affected largely, almost in the same manner as the individuals involved, if not more, and deal with many of the long-term and short-term effects that come with that. When parents are going through a divorce, more often than not, the children are usually brushed off to the side, not given enough attention, and sometimes caught between the divorce. The impact a divorce has on a family is far more intense on the child than the parents, and there are many circumstances or situations that can affect a view or opinion of the child. Children often show regressive symptoms by becoming increasingly infantile to try and get their parents to recreate a more supportive family atmosphere, and adolescents become more prone to aggression. In the short term, there are an abundance of evidence that divorce is incredibly harmful to children. During divorce, the lack of a supporting and stable environment at home, children often develop mental health issues. During a divorce, particularly anxiety, eating disorders, depression, and addiction issues that come from experimenting with drugs and alcohol to cope or to try and get attention from their parents. These issues, along with constant distractions and change in environments, can often also contribute to children losing interest in social activities in school, resulting in social development issues, as well as decreased performance at school. The separation of parents can also have a more viable impact to the child in the form of perceived guilt, with children often blaming themselves for the fact that their parents cannot resolve these issues. All of these reasons are why, in the short term, during divorce, it is important for children to be monitored closely by family or professionals and kept informed on the issues in order to prevent blame issues, and to make sure that they are getting the resources and resort they need to avoid them acting out in inappropriate manners that put them at risk. Divorce can be just as destructive on children in the long term. This can be due to the issues in the short term continuing well beyond the divorce. The resulting mental health issues such as depression and eating disorders can persist in the long term. It can also taint their views of marriage. After witnessing a marriage losing love, respect, and happiness, children of divorce are often more reluctant to marry as they no longer see marriage as something safe or enjoyable. Even if children do enter romantic relationships, the divorce can affect them in other ways, creating abandonment issues, a fear of failure, and losing relationships that result in unhealthy attachments, lack of commitment, or inability to work through their own relationship issues. As well as this, other impersonal relationships can be damaged, as after witnessing the destruction of the most important interpersonal relationship in their life, children's attitude towards other people is affected, resulting in argumentativeness as they replicate what they witnessed in their broken home. It is also important to note that there can be significant differences between how divorce affects children based on their age. Adolescents and youth are known to be affected differently by divorce due to their current stage of development and their response to issues. In general, younger children are more affected by divorces in the short term, as they are far less independent and are less likely to have some form of support network outside their direct family. Because of this, while adolescents often accelerate towards independence following a divorce, children will become more dependent on both parents to deal with the ensuing issues. siblings are more likely to develop long-term mental and social issues, and it is impacting them at a stage in their life which is far more formative of their identities and social bonds. Those entering teenage years often develop the worst social issues as a result of divorce, as they experienced it at a time where they're beginning to experiment with romantic relationships. Regardless of age, however, it is agreed that divorce has a negative effect, whether it is in the regression of children or the regression of adolescents. Divorce is a painful process for everyone involved, and all the children will be affected by a divorce no matter what age, gender, or financial background they are from. Divorce rates are constantly rising, but it is how the individual deals with it and the things that parents do and don't do that greatly impact how much a child is affected by the divorce. Both long-term and short-term effects will remain with the child, but dealing with the divorce as best as possible will help lessen the effects on a child and make it easier to get through. Children's feelings should be taken into consideration when going through a divorce, because the child's life is impacted as well. And it is very important that the parents help their children adjust to all the changes going on in their life and address any behavioral or psychological problems the moment they arise. In conclusion, divorce does affect children in many ways, and if the parents are able to focus on their children during this time, the effects may not be as harsh and long-term if they had just not paid any